For our final exercise in this lecture, I want to show you guys how we could use this demand model in order to show how the government could decrease cigarette consumption. So our government is, let's say, considering two methods for decreasing cigarette consumption. One, an ad campaign that makes people want to smoke less, or two, forcing the price of those cigarettes to increase. Either one of these could result in people consuming fewer cigarettes. And let's see how to do that. Let me get a little drawing tool here, and we'll draw a demand curve. We've got our axes, price and quantity, and a downward sloping demand curve, which we typically label with D. Okay, now I'm going to copy this. So we've got two copies of it. Actually, before I do that, let me go ahead and put in a particular price. I don't know exactly how much cigarettes cost at the moment, but let's say it's $8. And so at that $8 price, we have some number of people that are willing to buy cigarettes. Let's say it's 100 people want to buy cigarettes at that price of $8. So now I'm going to make a copy of this because I want to do this twice on the same graph. There we go. Now I've got two copies of that graph. And so looking back at our particular things that we're analyzing, first one, an ad campaign that makes people want to smoke less. How can we show that on those graphs? And secondly, forcing the price of a pack of cigarettes to increase. How could we show that on the graphs? Pause here and think about it yourself, and then come back. Okay, so for our first one, an ad campaign that makes people want to smoke less, this is not changing the price, it's changing something else attractive, to make smoking less attractive. So let's suppose this works. It does make smoking less attractive, that at any given price, like for example $8 or any other price we wanted to think about, fewer people want to buy cigarettes. So we have a new demand curve. Let me label it D prime here. Now this looks like a hugely successful ad campaign. We've shifted that demand curve a long way. I never knew how to shift it. I just shifted it far enough to shove an arrow in between. And so then if the price stays at $8, our new number of people who are going to buy these cigarettes is, I don't know, looks like 40 or so on my graph. But these numbers are just made up. Don't worry too much about them. The second one over here, we're forcing the price of a pack of cigarettes to rise. Maybe we're going to slap a big tax on these cigarettes, or more of a tax. Let's say this would force the price to go up to $10. Okay, well this is even easier than the last one. We can just trace across and say at this price of $10, this is the number of people who want to buy according to our demand curve. Maybe it's 60, let's say. So now looking at each of these graphs, in both cases we've ended up with a decrease in the number of people smoking. The particular amount of the decrease just depends on how far we've shifted those curves or how much of a price change we induced. But in each case, we've achieved the government's goal of decreasing the amount of cigarettes that people buy.